Hello, my name is Jared Kinney, and today I am going to talk about the consumer decision-making process and how to better understand this process from a marketing point of view. The consumer decision-making process is the process the consumer starts when shopping for a new product. This process happens anytime a consumer decides to start looking for a product. It begins with problem-opportunity recognition, then moves to search, then to evaluation of alternatives. After this, the process moves to the purchase decision, then purchase act, and finally the consumer makes post-purchase evaluation. At this point, the process does not end, it begins from the beginning all over again. In the next few slides, I will go into each step into greater detail. Problem opportunity recognition. This is where the consumer decision-making process begins. This is where the consumer identifies a problem in their life that a product can potentially solve. There are a few factors marketers need to recognize and differentiate to better understand consumers' needs. These factors include detriment versus determinants and personal versus interpersonal needs. For a marketer, it is vital to identify the consumer's needs or problems that may need solved by their product. A detriment is the state of being harmed or damaged. An example of this is if a consumer has a problem that can be solved with a product. This consumer will search for the product which fixes this problem. A determinant is a factor that decisively affects the nature or outcome of something. For instance, when a customer needs to get a product in order to accomplish something rather than solving a problem, like buying a car to go to work or to get from point A to point B. Marketers need to recognize when to advertise to a customer's needs, whether it is a personal, interpersonal, a detriment, or a determinant. Personal versus interpersonal needs. Thinking about interpersonal needs gives marketers a superior feeling of why we search out or maintain a strategic distance from specific circumstances, and why we try to be fulfilled or to have those necessities met. For instance, when a customer makes a purchase of produce, they are fulfilling an interpersonal need. On the other hand, thinking of personal needs as the underlying experience or feeling you are attempting to create through your actions. For instance, when somebody says they need a new fashion product. The search. After a consumer recognizes a problem or opportunity that a product could solve, the consumer begins the search. This step in the process can begin in-store or on the web. More and more, this process is being done online. If a marketer can determine when a consumer begins the search, the marketer can determine when to advertise a product. For example, consumers are more likely to purchase things like swimwear more in the summer and springtime. So marketers would seek to benefit to advertise those products almost exclusively during those times of the year. Next in the process is the evaluation of alternatives. Once the consumer finds a product they need, the consumer begins the evaluation of alternatives. This part of the process is like a research paper. The consumer often will research the quality of a product as well as a company's beliefs and will compare and contrast competitors. For example, in 2013, when Chick-fil-A came out in opposition of gay marriage, consumers took note and many started to go to alternatives. This is an example of consumers doing research on a product and determining the values of the company. Many consumers boycotted Chick-fil-A and went to alternatives based on their research. Next in the consumer decision-making process is the purchase decision. In the wake of counting up every one of the criteria the product needs to meet for the consumer's needs or problems, the clients will now settle on what they will buy and where. They are officially done considering all the options and are unequivocal on what they need to buy. They may have had used research to make this decision, or possibly they surrendered to advertising about this product or the administration and need to try the product out. Finally is the purchase act itself. This part of the consumer decision-making process is when the customer pulls the trigger and buys a product after going through every other step in the process. At this point, It's out of the marketer's hands if the marketers couldn't grab the consumer at any other point in this process. Once the purchase is complete, the post-purchase evaluation can finally begin. Once the buy has been made, does the product fulfill the need or want of a consumer? Is it above or underneath their desires? The objective for each advertiser isn't for a one-time client, however, a returning lifetime consumer. One awful experience of buyer's regret, and your public image could be tainted for eternity. Then again, one sublime experience can prompt a brand steadfast client who may even turn into a brand loyalist for you. Post-process. Even once the process is over, the consumer may go through some steps or the entire process over and over again. It's important for a marketer to identify the consumer's wants and needs that may arise, while also determining when those wants or needs may arise. Marketers also need to understand that at any point in the process is a chance to win the consumer over. Even after the process has been completed, marketers need to recognize when the process will begin again, because very few products have a lifetime guarantee. Think of this process not so much as a one-time deal as it is a lifetime cycle.